It is the 11th day of December 2014. I'm Kamene Goro, and many thanks for joining us on Just the Facts, where the brilliant minds meet. Today we happen to be shooting at the Strathmore Law School, one of the pinnacles of academic excellence in the country, and top on the agenda today is going to be the youth. Now, forming over 60% of the population, it goes without saying that this part of the populace cannot be ignored. Amongst other things, we're going to be talking about the youth agenda, whether the government has been taking the youth seriously, and most importantly, are the youth themselves taking themselves seriously? Now, in this lovely auditorium with me today, I have 4 panelists. You know that this is the largest panel we've ever had on Just the Facts, and that's primarily because I want to get depth of insights. I want people to disagree so that at the end of it, we are able to form an informed decision. I have Babu Owino, Sonu Chair, Kuso Chair. Everybody knows Babu. You don't really have to introduce him. He's been behind, I think, rallying of university students and has been at the forefront of university politics. Now, besides Babu, I have Steve Mbogo, who happens to be the patron of a youth-oriented party called PONA. He's here to give us, impartial insights, criticisms, analysis of both the government and the opposition. Besides Steve, we have Dr. Noah Akala. He sits on the secretariat of the ODM party, and he deals specifically with information communication, science and technology, pardon me. And of course, where we have opposition, we must have a government. We have the TNA Youth League Chair, James Wanjohi, to see if he can put up a substantial argument against the thousands of criticisms we have against the government on their youth agenda. Welcome. I know we've kept you waiting for a very long time, so let's just get straight into it. There is the notion that the youth hasn't been able to step up, 60% of the country over here is always waiting for handouts and assistance, and the government has been rather liberal with that, There's the Wezo Fund, we have the NYS rallies. They're trying to really empower the youth the best way they know how. But at the same time, there's also the very substantiated argument that the youth have let themselves down. We look at issues like radicalization. We look at issues like drug abuse down at the coast. We look at issues like unemployment. And as much as we say that it is a government problem, maybe there really isn't any initiative in the youth. So just as we start off, I want to see what you feel about this 60% populace of our country. We'll start with you. Steve, you happen to be in the lovely, bracket of being young and having initiative. And you have managed to be one of the empowered youth who has been able to break the stereotype of being idle and consistently broke. How do you feel about constantly wanting a handout? Should the youth be sitting there waiting at the edge of the government's table for the crumbs to tumble? Or should we go out there and demand what is ours?
Okay, basically, the most important thing, and the government should get it very clear, that it all begins with the structure. Now, when you look at the structure on how the government is helping the hand and sending all this, whatever the supports and aids to the youth, on my perception, it's doing it in the wrong way. Because I believe everything is about changing the concept and the mentality. You're told a human being is a product of his thought. And whatever he thinks, he becomes. Now, if the government will keep showing that we'll be giving you this money as Wezo Fund, and you have to make proper use of it, go invest and help yourself, I don't think that is the right approach. In my perception, I think the main reason why the government brought the Wezo Fund and the Youth Fund was basically appear in their manifesto, where they came up with the Wezo Fund and they came up with the laptop project, simply because they understood very well that 60% of the population is made of the youth. Having that in mind, they decided to bring in a very good concept which could woo the youth to vote for them. And as per the last years, we realized that in the last elections, a lot of youth went into voting. That's why we had a very good turnout when it came to the voting. But simply, what I will say is the government is not doing it in the right way.
Okay. Steve, I want to hear what you have to say about all of this. You've been too quiet.
Yes. Basically, for me, I think the main problem is the structure, as I put it. Because at the end of the day, I won't blame the government for bringing in Uwezo Fund. In one way or another, it's going to work out positively. But it will depend on the structure, on how the money is channeled. For example, when you talk of Uwezo Fund, one of the criteria is that you need to have a registered company. On a personal level, for a young person to register a company, he needs a minimum of about 30,000 to register a company. Now, when you talk of 30,000 shillings, that is enough money for the person to invest and start a small-scale business. So will someone invest the 30,000 to start a business or 30,000 to start a company, which he's not sure of getting the Uwezo Fund, because you have to undergo a certain criteria. Now, when we combine ideas like Kazi kwa Vijana, I think the most important thing the government should focus on is solution-oriented projects and ways of helping the youth. Because at the end of the day, you might get someone who has the know-how or has a brother or sister who can do a very good proposal for him or even do a company for him, but he does not have the technological and intellectual mind on how to run a business. So it means at the end of the day, this will just be PR. And I believe the government cannot end up crucifying the young boys and girls because they are not able to pay back the money.
It's counterproductive.
Yes. So I think the most important thing and the main concept is that they should find ways on how to structure it in a proper way, where it's going to work out efficiently and the output of production is going to be positive.
Yes, I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Wanjohi. I think even as we move forward, it's good for us to draw some lines. You know, it is very easy to be critical of the government. It is the easiest thing to do, to say that, guess what you're doing is not working. What you're doing is wrong. We are not seeing the benefits. We are not seeing the fruits on the ground. It's harder now to provide solutions, you know, to say that, yes, you are unable to haul in on security in the country. You are dropping the ball when it comes to X, Y, and Z. But you don't give any solutions, which is something, unfortunately, Daktari, that the opposition has become borderline characteristic with. You know, anytime something happens, yes, the government, you people are not doing. You know, Mandela happened, no, the President Uhuru Kenyatta doesn't. Wouldn't you be a much more constructive opposition if there was constructive criticism?
Oh, but that is the
and
order
don't
of the
you
day.
think that the excuse that the government doesn't want to dialogue is a bit timed out?
Kamene, if I may add on that.
She's addressed the question to the opposition.
No, if I may add on that. Basically, I don't think the two of them are the opposition. Personally, I think Pona is the opposition.
Oh, Pona.
Because at the end of the day, I believe the government and the per se opposition are one and same thing. Now, you realize that whatever we've had right now, it's all about scandals. The two of them are partners in crime. And the only division that comes in between them is on the crime basis, not about the common mwananchi. When you talk of education, to begin with, we have to define education. Now, education is the ability of transmitting civilization. And for this to happen, it must enlighten and enrich the individual. Now, when Wanjohi started, he started by saying, as Kenyans, as the youth, we are always there seated, waiting to be spoon-fed. Now, when you talk of this Uwezo Fund, directly what you're doing is taking advantage of the mentality of the youth. Because you know the youth want to be spoon-fed, you brought the Uwezo Fund so that you can spoon-feed these people. Now, that means you're making it worse. The thing is, we have to understand, one, the kind of individuals we're dealing with. We are the youth of this country. We are always on the ground. We have the intellectuals, we have the illiterate, and we have goons in the societies who are one, and all of them are Kenyans. And they all have one common goal, which is to see Kenya succeed. Now, when my brother here spoke about the free primary education and all that, I believe that was one of the most important and best thing that Kibaki brought into this country. Because I believe the future of a country is based on the intellectuality and the thinking of the individuals. Now, Jubilee government should emphasize on creating a structure which will have a 10-year effect on any mwananchi. Not 5 years because you're going for elections in 2017. That is total PR.
We now have to go to a short commercial break. Temperatures are way over boiling point, but we've got so much more for you on Just the Facts. Don't go anywhere.